going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. You're listening to episode number 16 of Evil and Intoxicated,
16.
Ted?
16, Eddie. That's right.
I can't even believe it. If we got any new viewers out there, you're listening to episode number 16. We do this live every Wednesday night for everybody out there on YouTube, our MMA family. The guy above me, of course, that is the infamous Ted Czech. Ted, what's going on, boss?
Hey, Eddie. Hey, did you hear about Ric Flair? Did you hear about what Ric Flair said?
And Holly Berry?
Yes, he said she took a ride on Space Mountain. Woo!
She's saying that's absolutely false, though.
Oh, I didn't see that. She actually did respond.
Yeah, because when I first heard that, I was like, that's kind of weird. I can't really see them like together. I can't see her being with somebody. And then everyone went, "Wow, like, are you crazy?"
just one night of coital bliss. But I mean, he put the time frame together. He said, okay, she was married to David Justice. He was an Atlanta Brave. WCW, who the organization that he worked for, that was based in Atlanta. She just got divorced. So, it's just one night. Well, wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, she was like absolutely upset that he came out to say any of that. So I don't know what the
thought it was going to be a secret forever. I don't know.
Bragging rights, right? You crush Holly Berry, you got bragging rights, especially if you're the nature boy. But yeah, man, I don't know. I couldn't really see that happening. But thank you guys for all tuning in. You guys can find Ted's videos up on YouTube. That's how I came across him. You just search Ted Czech. That's not C-H-E-C-H. That's C-Z-E-C-H. I want to thank any of our new viewers out there, any of our viewers coming back. Ted's going to be running our chat room. Of course, we do live Q&A. Ted, what's going on in the chat room right now? Who's in there?
Eddie, I have to tell you, absolutely nothing.
Oh, really?
I don't know. The evil army took the night off, I think.
Well, that's all right.
But unless, maybe I need to jump out of it and jump back into it. Maybe I'm just not seeing something. But
it's all right. People will definitely be hopping on. What videos did you come out this week with, though, Ted, for everybody that's tuning in?
Oh, of course I did. I had to do one on Ric Flair.
Of course.
But I think I talked about Jules the Jackal, which we'll talk about that idiot later. I think I talked about Jose Aldo and his predicament with the UFC. Just today, I think Habib Nurmagomedov also issuing. I don't know if you want to say it was really a threat to the UFC, but I got to say, Eddie, this year we're seeing a revolution going on here. We're seeing more and more fighters who are just you could call it, from the UFC standpoint, they could say, oh, this is insubordination, but from a fighter's standpoint, it's standing up for themselves and for realizing what they're worth. You've often heard that phrase, know what you're worth.
Yeah, of course.
And so we've seen Mark Hunt say some stuff and say, hey, you know what, I'm out of here. Forget it, I'm done. And then Aldo, and now Nurmagomedov. So we are in some interesting times here.
Yeah, a lot of fighters are finding their voice.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. They're finding their voice. They're not afraid to say it. They're not afraid to say it. When you think about it, they're independent contractors. They are not employees of the UFC. So they've got a little bit more latitude there. They can say a lot of things, and if they're a good fighter, the UFC is gonna come at them with a contract. But it's good to see that.
A lot of fighters now are definitely finding their voice. They're seeing this after Conor McGregor is making absolutely millions upon millions of dollars, and then they sell the company this year for $4 billion.
Right. I've seen.
A lot of fighters are saying that they feel like they've been used. And we saw this last week with Khabib and Jose Aldo. We're going to be getting into that and much more, guys. Make sure you go check Ted's videos out for any of these video discussions. Of course, he's always getting back to everybody. But make sure, before we get into the show, you guys give us a follow on Twitter and on Facebook. You can find me at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. We're also up on Facebook. Just search Pure Evil MMA. And Ted, I couldn't make it any more simpler for everyone. I changed the tag to just at pure evil MMA. I can't make it any more simple than that. So make sure you guys go find us, give us a like, subscribe down below. Like I said, we do this every Wednesday night. The way we usually start the show off, though, is to talk about our weekend. So, Ted, well, how did you enjoy your weekend with the fights in Portland?
Oh, I thought they were awesome, man. You know, I heard that the ratings were low, and yeah, people were not happy with the outcome of Lineker and Dodson. But I mean, you know, just looking here at my notes, I mean, I thought it was a great night of fights. It's again free, and as you and I have been saying, we've been in the midst of this. I don't know what you want to call it, an MMA orgy. You know, where week after week we're getting fight cards. This weekend is 204. So, oh, hello.
I wiped the screen off.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax on. Wax on.
Yeah. So. So anyway, no, I thought it was a great night of fights, and you know, ready for the next one. Ready for 204, man.
So we're going to be talking about, of course, UFC Portland. We're going to be discussing that card really quick for everybody. And then we're going to be talking about UFC 204, which is coming up this weekend, to wrap everything up. And, of course, the weekly news. But before we even get into breaking down this card, Ted, I just have to say, there's an evil clown walking around my city, closing down. My sister's school is shut down. They're making social media posts saying that they're going to kidnap children, and they're taking this very seriously. And I even saw down in Ohio or Tennessee or somewhere like that, one of them even got shot in the head. Have you heard anything about this?
Oh yeah, I work for a newspaper here in Pennsylvania. We've been covering it. It's a really hot topic. Everybody's talking about it, about clowns.
I feel like I'm living in Gotham City. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I just a couple weeks ago I went to Hershey Park, Hershey, Pennsylvania. They have a ride there. It's a roller coaster, and it's inside a building, and it makes you feel as though you're in the Joker's lair.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, with like bright colors and laughing, and it, you know, I'm sure the closer we get to Halloween, if the park is still open and people ride that thing, they're going to get freaked out.
That's
but
great.
Did you hear? I think it was in Greensboro, North Carolina. A dude was on his own property, and he saw a clown come out of the woods, I guess, you know, near his house. He got a machete out. He's like, I don't think so. And he starts chasing after that clown.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting insane, and people need to just cut the crap because somebody's going to really get hurt. You know, some kid's going to put on a mask and think they're going to play a prank on somebody, and then somebody's going to get violent with them, and it's not going to work out well.
I think that's what's really been going on here. I think that people are trying to make a joke and not realizing that there's people out there that actually are dressing up like clowns and harming people. So you don't know if this person's playing around, and you don't know if this person's being serious. So what are you supposed to do? I chase him with a machete too, Ted, and I got a bat in every single room. And you know what? You're playing on people's fears. Like, there's so many people out there with fears of clowns, it's not even funny.
Right, there's actually a term for it. It's like, I looked it up. It's like coulrophobia or something like that. It's not clownophobia. It's like COULORO, whatever. But it's like coulrophobia. But apparently it's a condition. And yeah, I mean, all over the country we're being plagued with this. And there have been some arrests. I saw a story about a group on Facebook. I can't remember what state it was in, but they were messaging a school department, saying we're going to do this, that, and the other thing.
That's right here in New Haven. My little sister's school was shut down, bro.
Yeah, so there were a couple of arrests that were, at least one girl was arrested.
Yeah, I saw that one girl that was in on it had the social media site on Instagram.
Yeah, so I don't know. All this started back several months ago in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where there was a clown walking around with the black balloons.
Yes, and they were seeing them at like stop signs and stuff.
That was a promo for a movie, though. That's why they were doing it. They were doing it for publicity for the movie, and then from there, it just, you know, other people started doing it.
It's just crazy. I remember a lot of people, when The Purge came out, the second Purge, a lot of people thought that people were actually going to do that, start going out and purging. And this is now the second time I've had to explain something absolutely ridiculous to my little sister, just letting her know that like things like this come up and people act stupid, but it just blows over. Like, don't be like, people are so nervous that they're going to walk outside and see the worst fear of like an evil clown. You know what I mean?
You know who we really have to thank for this is Stephen King, because he wrote that book, It,
Yes.
way back when.
Kara pointed this out.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, clowns are that's like the biggest news story.
Absolutely crazy, man. So let's get into UFC Portland. It was a wild weekend, and that's not even the best way to explain it. We're going to be rating this card, judging it out of 5 stars in a second. Ted, what was one of the fights that stood out to you, if any?
Well, I mean, I'd have to go with the main event, Dodson versus Lineker. They were just so I'm just looking at my notes. I mean, there was so many things going on with that. You know, how did you score the fight? You know, to me, it reminded me a lot. I'll just cut right to the chase. It reminded me a lot of Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit. If you remember that fight, Carlos Condit was accused. Some people criticized him for running. They said, he got on his bicycle and he was running. But he also did strike quite a bit. The criticism there was a lot of pitter-patter stuff. You know, and that was where we got the phrase spinning shit.
Yeah.
Nick, at one point, I forget what he threw, spinning back fist or spinning back kick. Nick Diaz like, oh, what are we throwing spinning shit now? So, and Nick Diaz was the one who was pursuing. He was aggressive, and he had more of the power punches, but less of them. But he threw more power punches, just less overall strikes. So Carlos won. Carlos got the decision. Here, it was a flip-flop. You had Lineker, the guy who, well, it looked as though he was throwing more power punches. I guess technically Dodson had a lot of those too. But Dodson was running. Now, I mean, that's what some people said. Some people said he was running. Other people were saying, no, that's resetting.
Yes.
He's resetting. But my point was, I think in judges' minds, right or wrong, you reach a point where you're doing too much running. You know what I mean? A little reset here and there, that's all right. But too much, a preponderance of it, too much of that running around, too much resetting, it starts to look like running. It starts to look like you're retreating, and the other guy's coming forward. You know, and I think that's why Lineker got the nod. I gave Dodson rounds 1 and 5, and Lineker 2, 3, and 4. That's how I scored.
The way I broke this down, Ted, was the very first round. You know, Dodson was really trying to play it safe. He was trying to get in and out really quick without really engaging a lot with John Lineker. But as the fight went on, we were seeing Dodson engaging a lot more in that firefight of just throwing fisticuffs.
Right. No, it's true. He did it. Props to him. His chin held up, and he gave it right back to Lineker on occasion. Although there was that, you remember that one time, I think Big John actually stepped between them, and I'm not quite sure exactly why he did that. Yeah, and he he made like he was running away.
Big John was like, no, boys, none of this tonight.
Yeah, so I mean, it was affecting Lineker, who's starting to get pissed off. Like, you know, come on, dude, let's stand and bang. You know?
Yeah, so Lineker, at even one point in the fight, wanted to just throw down so bad because he's so used to his opponents just like giving in and being like, all right, let's do as the tougher chin. Dodson wasn't giving that to him. And at one point in the fight, Lineker even got so frustrated, he was just went, just like, come on, throw down.
Yeah, he really he needs that. And, you know, not to jump ahead too much, but there's talk that he might get matched up with Cody Garbrandt. And, I mean, if that happens, striker's delight.
Well, he was calling out Dominic Cruz. And we're going to talk about this in a second, guys. But there's an issue of missing weight and getting a title shot. What's your take on that, Ted?
Missing weight, but yet getting a title shot?
Yeah, you can't do that, can you?
You mean you're talking about like Lineker? Okay, Lineker missed weight for that's another one of the themes that was going on in this, because Lineker wasn't the only one, and we can get to that. 3 of them.
3.
Okay, so Lineker misses weight, but yet he beats Dodson. So you're asking, has Lineker won the right to fight for the title next? Should he be considered the number 1 contender? No, I don't think so. And I think he needs a win over somebody else. He needs to beat either Dillashaw or Garbrandt first.
Cody No Love would be a great matchup for Lineker. I think that's great because they both love to sit there and exchange with one another.
Right. So there's talk of that, and then there's talk of this is Ariel Helwani who said something about this, and also then talk of Cruz rematching Dillashaw, the Thriller Shaw.
Trillishaw. So besides the John Dodson fight, which was actually scored 48-47, 47-48, and 48-47, very close fight. Could have went either way. I'm not mad that Lineker won. However,
it was close.
John Dodson, I thought, he had a perfect game plan, and he just got caught a couple of times in the firefight, but was able to escape it. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't find much fault with Dodson. It's just the perception. That the perception is everything, and I think in the judges' minds, it looked like he was retreating, whether he was or whether he wasn't. I mean, and he did, like you said, he did engage Lineker, but he wasn't a Khalib Starnes, if you remember that fight, where he just, I mean, he really just did rings around the cage. But that's the only thing I can think of is that he created that perception that he was running, and
judges just weren't feeling it that night. So
right.
Cowboy Oliveira, Ted, going up against Will Brooks. A lot of controversy here. Will Brooks missing weight by 5.5 pounds.
The Cowboy missed it. You said Brooks did.
Oh, my bad. My
bad.
I'm an idiot. Thank you for correcting me, because
I don't mean to be.
I hate re-listening to something and I say the wrong thing and I'm like, oh my god, like I had the names mixed up. So I do appreciate that.
I screw up all the time. You watch my videos. I screw up all the time,
dude. All the professionals do. Robin Black does all the time.
Yeah, I just laugh it off and keep going.
So Cowboy Oliveira was upset that Will Brooks wouldn't shake hands with him, wouldn't stare off with him, because he was mad because he's not going to get the fight of the night bonus if it gets to that point, because he's missing weight now. He put in all this work at his fight camp. Now Cowboy Oliveira comes in missing weight by 5.5 pounds, and then the following night they get into it, and obviously he was using his size to his advantage.
He's huge.
Before we get into any of the controversies of it, how did you see that fight going?
Well, just to back up, so at the weigh-ins, Cowboy weighs in 5.5 over, and then Will Brooks hopped up there and he said, "This is professionalism." That was his statement. He said, "This is professionalism." Bang, and he hit it, 156. So you're allowed 1 pound. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there, I'm not sure exactly because that was the first weigh-in, right? That wasn't the weigh-in. That was like the pre-weigh-in. You know how they do the early weigh-ins and then they do the other ones? At some point in there, apparently he said MFer. He called Cowboy, an MFer, right?
Of course, because he's frustrated that he missed the weight.
Fine. But apparently somebody was saying that phrase was lost in translation, and that Cowboy interpreted that as like, go F your mother. And he's like, we don't talk about mothers like that, So because that's what he was saying after the fight. That's when he was asked about why once he finished Brooks, he was giving them you're Italian, the fangool.
Yeah.
Hey, fangool. gave him the crotch chops, and so then he was asked, why'd you do that? He said, oh well, something, we don't talk about mothers or whatever. So he missed it. It's an American, the MFer. It's kind of an American thing, right?
Yeah.
A Brazilian, a guy who doesn't have a good command of the English language, is going to think, "What, you're telling me to F my mother? What? Oh, I don't think so." You know what I mean?
And then he gave him the old Generation X suck it sign.
You did that? Yeah, I did the crotch chops too, yeah.
It just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. It's not what I expected from him, not the kind of fighter I thought he was. And you're supposed to be a professional. You have a contracted weight. You're supposed to show up. You're supposed to be ready for this fight. Will Brooks looking, all right, you might think it's a free card. Oliveira likes a free card. Every fight should be the biggest fight of your life. You should put everything into getting ready for this. Showing up 5.5 pounds overweight doesn't look good, one. Number two, once you do that in the ring, I can understand that fighters are kind of pumped up. They're in the heat of the moment. But then again, in the post-fight speech, he was like, I'm not sorry. And if you did it again, I would do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, bad enough that you weighed in 5.5 over, and then you're going to insult your opponent. I mean, are you kidding me? Who does that? Well, apparently this guy does. But yeah, no, if he definitely didn't gain any fans. He lost fans right there, I would have to say.
Yes.
And yeah, I was on Twitter at that point. I'm sure you were too, but I was like making fun of him. I was saying, he needs cowboy tattooed. He's got a $2 hat. He lost the fight with Cowboy Cerrone. He can't call himself Cowboy.
Yeah, dude, I said the same thing. And
Go find a new nickname. Go get a new nickname. You lost Cowboy.
Your boy Sammy Eid said he can't change his name because it's tattooed on him.
Yeah, no, I know. Who does that? A real cowboy doesn't need to do that. You know what I mean? You know who you are. You don't need to tattoo it on yourself. God. Anyway.
So this left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Both the co-main event and main event, both overweight. Who was the other person that was overweight, Ted?
That is a good question. I don't know. Somebody out there is probably can tell us. I can't remember whether it was somebody on the on the undercard or what. I can't remember. I can't recall.
Another fight I want to point out is also Tamden McCrory versus Nate Marquardt. Highlight of the night, easily knockout of the night. Not the way I wanted it to go, but Nate Marquardt was in a tough position with his back up against the wall, and Tamden McCrory did the chicken dance backwards and just got landed flush with that kick from Nate Marquardt, ending the fight. One of the most brutal highlights of the month, maybe even best knockout of the year.
It could be a contender for that. Yeah, I mean, it's just that it was an undercard fight, so. The fact that it doesn't have that stature, that prestige of being a main card fight, that might hold it back a little bit. But yeah, it was very, very impressive. And yeah, like you said, not the way that I saw it going either. I picked Tamden McCrory as well. I thought I didn't think Nate had much left, but apparently he does.
Well, we discussed it, hot and cold.
Yeah, he is. He's like like a lot of fighters, when you're fighting the best, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know what I mean? You can't. Not everybody gets to string together, win upon win upon win. I mean, that's very difficult. But I mean, when you think of Nate Marquardt, you think of the Tyron Woodley finish. You think of some of his other. He has had some spectacular finishes in his career, and he was a fighter long before he got to the UFC. He was King of Pancrase. I think I mentioned this. I mean, he had a good, solid number of years before he even got to the UFC, and but he's been hanging on, and much respect to him for that. And wow, he shocked me with that knockout there.
Do you think if Nate Marquardt lost, he was probably going to get his pink slip? And do you think that Tamden McCrory might even get his second pink slip?
Well, yeah. Let's see. So what is that? So Nate was looking at how many losses? 2?
I'm pretty sure he was looking at 2 losses. Now Tamden is also at 2 losses.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's discretionary. You know what I mean? It's up to the UFC. It's kind of, you're at their whim, whatever they want to do. So, I mean, they've let people go after 2. Usually it's 3. I've seen them go to 4 for some people. Now we're gonna talk about 204. There's a guy on the card who's got 3. Russell Doan. I just realized that today, and we'll get to that later. But so it's all a case by case basis, I think. And yeah, Tamden. For those who don't know, Tamden McCrory was in the UFC. God, like how many years ago was that?
5 years ago.
5 or more. I think actually he had 5 years off.
Okay, that's what it is. 5 years off.
And then he's been back fighting for a couple of years because he had like at least 3 fights in Bellator.
Mm-hmm. And he did great over there.
Let's just say it was like 7 years ago that he was in the UFC, and he was a young guy. He was in his early 20s.
Well, yeah, he started training at 19 and got signed at 20.
Yeah, so he was a young prospect, promising. He had a lot of potential, but ran into some tough guys, and they let him go. And then other things in his life got in the way. Before he knew it, 5 years had gone by. And then he made a spectacular return in Bellator. UFC took notice of that and signed him. I hope. I hope they give him one more shot. I really do.
In defense of Tamden, though, he had Nate in trouble a couple of times during that fight. It wasn't a one-sided fight at all. He almost submitted him a couple times, but Nate was such a veteran fighter, used to being in those tough positions, stays calm and keeps his ears open to his corner. And we saw him execute a perfect game plan. And I don't want to say lucked out, but definitely lucked out by getting this win because he was in a tough situation.
Yeah, have you ever seen that old clip of Nate Marquardt in Pancrase? He was fighting a Gracie, I believe, and I think he got a submission, and there was some controversy where he might have held it on too long, and in comes Renzo Gracie and kicks him right in the head or down or something, like stomps on him or something. It was insane.
I gotta check that out. That sounds crazy.
Just like Pancrase, Nate Marquardt, Renzo Gracie. Something. Renzo storms the cage or the ring. I think they're fighting in a ring at that point, and like shoves him or kicks him or something.
Wasn't Nate champion over there, right?
Yeah. That Pancrase, one of the oldest Japanese organizations. They don't call you champ. They call you king. So you're king of Pancrase. Bas Rutten was a king of Pancrase. Frank Shamrock was a king of Pancrase. I think Ken Shamrock was too. Yeah.
One more fight, and maybe there might be another one on here that you want to talk about, but something I definitely have to point out, Ted, Brandon Moreno coming up with the big win over Lou Samoka. He was on this season of Ultimate Fighter, season 24. He was a 5-1 underdog, submits Samoka in the first round by guillotine.
Yeah, I am McLovin. That's right. He used to change his name. I forget what his nickname is, Moreno. But he needs to change it to McLovin because he's a dead ringer for that character in Superbad.
I put his post-fight speech on my podcast, which you guys can all find on iTunes. It was released this morning, Pure Evil MMA episode number 18. But yeah, within that interview, Ted, the way he talks is so funny. He was so excited that he won too. Here's my question to you though. It was a short notice fight, all right? It was his debut fight. He's fighting a ranked fighter. Should fighters be allowed on their debut to be fighting a ranked fighter?
I mean, I personally don't have a problem with it. Clearly the UFC thought highly of him, and maybe it was just that also that he was the best choice at that time. They may not have had anybody else. You know, he came. They scooped him up right off of the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Yes. Yep.
So, to me, that means that they were low on options. Let's put it that way. I mean, there's a guy right here in Lancaster, Matt Lozano. You've heard me talk about him before. And he should have been on that show, in my opinion. So I don't know why they didn't call him up, but I guess Moreno was right there. He had been on the show. You know, I'm kind of partial. I'm a little bit biased.
This was a huge win for him, and of course he thinks that he is in the rankings now. I want to know what all of you guys think, so if anyone's in the chat room right now, definitely let us know if you think that fighters should be fighting, should debut fighters be fighting ranked opponents? That's what I want to know. And if you guys are rewatching this, make sure you guys use hashtag PureEvilMMA or just tag @me or Ted Czech and let us know what you think about this, because I think this is something that people want to talk about. Also, Ted, was there anything else you wanted to say about that?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. Hashtag McLovin.
One last fight I want to mention also, Touchy Feely going up against Hakron Diaz. Touchy Feely, of course, winning in unanimous decision. I told you I had faith in him, Ted.
Yeah, you did, and I was impressed.
He did put on a great performance.
What's that?
He definitely put on an impressive performance against a tough contender.
Yep. Yeah. No. I was really impressed, and I remember saying, I like he's got the neck tat. He's following in Cody Garbrandt's footsteps. They train together, right, at Team Alpha.
Yeah, they're tight.
So he might have picked up
they're tight.
The throat tat.
A lot of people might recognize him from also season 22 of Ultimate Fighter. He kind of started beef with Conor McGregor, and then Cody Nolov stood up for Touchy Feely. And that's when they got in each other's faces.
Okay, all right.
So that's kind of like a backstory to that as well. Cody Nolov, I love that kid. He'll he'll protect his family and loved ones. And I love that he just stood up to Conor McGregor like that. And that's when we kind of started seeing him come out more and be noticed a lot more, was because he was by Uriah's side during that season. So definitely check that out. Definitely a young and upcoming great prospect, touchy-feely, bringing home the win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I remember that what you were talking about there with Cody Garbrandt and Conor McGregor, and I respect both guys. I couldn't help but feel that Garbrandt kind of just played into Conor McGregor's trap a little bit. You know, that's exactly what McGregor wants you to do. He wants to get you all riled up, get you all hot and bothered, and upset. Play with your emotions. You know, the guy's a psychological assassin. You know,
yeah, he is.
He really is. But what are you gonna do? That's Garbrandt. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an emotional guy.
Literally.
I like the way he's been stalking Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, to the point he's got blocked.
Yeah, I mean, man, I don't get the whole blocking thing, but yeah, I mean, it's like if it wasn't done in the UFC, it'd be criminal. You know what I mean? You could bring him up on stalking charges. You know, it's just pretty funny, actually.
Well, to me, it's like Dominic Cruz. I remember you in your last fight, not Uriah Faber, but your last fight with TJ Dillashaw, and you were angry that he wasn't doing what Cody Nolov is doing right now, which is running his mouth, getting the fans hyped up. That's what he was calling out for TJ Dillashaw to do. Well, now you got it. And now you got a scary contender on your hands. Why are you blocking him? What? Why are you blocking him?
And wait, didn't Dillashaw say he wanted to put up $100,000?
Did he?
If he fight, he says, okay, Cruz, if we're gonna fight, I'm putting up $100,000. That's winner take all kind of thing. I think
that's great.
I don't know if Cruz accepted that.
That's just crazy, man.
Maybe Cruz has to match. Maybe they each put up $100,000. I don't know. I can't remember.
That bantamweight division, though, it's a thirsty one, man. It's a thirsty division. A lot of people that want that title, and Dominic Cruz holding it hostage from everyone right now. Putting up one hell of a fight, though. Putting up one hell of a fight. Like I said, in that fight with TJ Dillashaw, the first time I thought TJ won it, I rewatched it. I was like, no, the judges had it right. Dominic Cruz was the winner. Now I would like to see TJ Dillashaw in there getting his rematch. Ted.
Yes, Eddie.
You want to break the sad news about our boy Josh?
Yeah, I think most people probably are aware. Josh Sammen passed away. The news came out today. It was one of his teammates who initially posted it. His manager later on confirmed it. It stemmed from, I think it was last week Thursday, that he was found at a friend's house in Florida, Tallahassee, right? I mean, that's where he grew up. Grew up in Tallahassee. The friend was DOA. The friend was dead when emergency personnel got there. Josh was, I guess he had a pulse, and so they took him to the hospital, and he lasted, and he tried to survive. He was in a coma until today, so he passed away at the age of 28. Guy had just a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Before the show, I was watching, as many videos as I could find on the guy, interviews with him on YouTube and everything, and just to kind of see what I remember him on The Ultimate Fighter, but just to see, and I haven't read his book. I really, really want to read his book. I read like the first page of it.
What's the name of that book? It has a cool name to it.
It's called The Housekeeper, and then there's like another. It's like a housekeeper : love, death, and fighting, I think, or something along those lines.
So now, a lot of people out there, Ted, that don't know about Josh Sammen, he has a very inspirational story, very similar to my story. What's some information you can give some of our listeners about this, about his professional career, his story, and why people really cherished him and everything?
Well, he in the book, as I understand it, he talks about substance abuse. He's very, very open with that, with his his struggles with it, and then the other big thing in his life, tragedy, was his girlfriend's death. The passing of his girlfriend. She got into a car accident, and he was ridden with guilt because he felt that he played a part in it because they were texting while she was driving. and so there's that issue as well. But I saw I'm sure he covered it in the book, and I saw it in an interview. That he held on to that and blamed himself for that. Now, as far as his death, there were a lot of rumors that were flying around. I can say, from everything I've read, emergency personnel were called to the home for it was a drug-related call. Let's put it that way. It was a drug-related call that somebody found the two of them, Josh and his friend, and made that assessment and called 911. Josh's mom made a point to say that no heroin was found in his system. She wanted to clear that up. The only question I have with that, and I, maybe the answer is out there somewhere, is I wonder how she knows that, because they still have to do some additional testing. I can speak from experience as a reporter, crime reporter. When you have somebody who dies, and you do an autopsy, and then you do something called toxicology, which is you take samples from the body, you send it off to a lab, and it could take 6 weeks, 8 weeks before those results come back, and it's going to tell you all of the substances that may have been that were in the body, if there were any. So I don't know how she could say that heroin was not in his body. I mean, like I said, maybe there's an answer there. I just couldn't tell from what I was reading how she knew that. But, so it could be a couple months before we find out. But you know what? It kind of doesn't matter at this point. Josh Sammen is not with us. And, I mean, I never interviewed the guy, but from everything I could tell, he was a hell of a guy.
And there's one thing I want to mention, Ted. Substance abuse and, when you're dealing with mourning, you lose somebody very close to you. You can't predict how people are going to act to that. Sometimes people reach out to substances to heal that pain because you just can't get that thought out of your head. Whatever the case is, substance abuse is a real issue out there, and it needs to be raised awareness that if you have kids or anything, just please educate them on the crazy world out there of drugs. And it's just very sad news, Ted. Very similar story to mine, him losing his girlfriend, so it kind of touches somewhere close to home. Of course, his mother probably in disbelief right now. Our hearts, my heart, Ted's heart, everyone's heart here goes out to Josh and his family. Of course, the person that he was found with is also a ring announcer for, I don't know exactly what company, but his name was Troy the Natural Kirkenberg. He was also, like Ted said, was found with him deceased on Friday. And like you said, Josh wasn't found passed at that point. He was on a respirator, and his life was depending on that as of today, correct? He passed away this morning?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, there was an Instagram, I can't remember the guy's name, but they were on The Ultimate Fighter together, and then they became training partners, I think, after that. And he was the first one to say that. And then later on, I saw that Josh's manager confirmed it. But yeah, Josh was a really he was a deep guy. You know what I mean? Like he was very eloquent. Like he could really express himself very well, whether it be the spoken word or in his book. Because like I said, I read like the first couple pages of his book, and it was really good. I thought it was a really well-written book. What I did read. And he had been doing some, in addition to the book, he had been doing some writing for UFC.com and also, I think, for Bloody Elbow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. He's a contributor.
So he had other talents. He could play the guitar and sing. And he was asked about that in one interview that I saw. He was asked, they said, the interviewer said, hey, do you ever talk about or think about becoming champion? And he said, that's not really the way I approach things. I take it one fight at a time, and I've got other interests. I've got other goals in life, this was right before the fight with Tim Boetsch. He said he actually enlisted the help. Was that
Tim Boetsch? I just like saying his name.
Oh, Tim the Barbarian Boetsch. This was right before that fight. He said he enlisted the help of a sports psychologist, and that person told him, that he should embrace that, the fact that he had other goals as well, instead of just being like I want to be champion, to be obsessed with that. He had other interests and other things as well. And I think, to me, it meant that he was there for the ride. He was there for the experience. He was fighting because it made him. There was a visceral feeling. It helped him cope with his troubles. And it's almost more cathartic than it was like I want to be on top of the world kind of thing.
It kind of reminds me of what you posted yesterday. I saw something really funny that you posted on Twitter. It was like, people say that fighting isn't the answer, and then there's a picture of like the girl watching fights on her iPad. And
yeah, it was just a retweet. I just retweeted that. Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious. But what's some of the fights that stood out to you for him? And one thing I want to say, Ted, really quick, for anyone out there that is interested in reading his book, if you have Apple, you're very open. And I just found this out because you can read the Ronda book. You can just type in this book name and read the first 60 pages, I believe. So definitely check it out, and it will. It's definitely a good book from what I hear.
Yeah. Like I said, it was. I found myself immediately getting sucked into it. Because he's talking about he's with his buddy. They're at the bar. And he's just kind of talking about his life a little bit, and then somebody taps him on the shoulder or something, and you get the feeling it's his girlfriend, but at that point, I don't think they had been dating. But that's, to me, that's wherever I was reading it, that's where it cut off. So it's like, what's next? You know what I mean? So, and that's good storytelling right there. When you create these like mini cliffhangers, you catch the reader going, what's next? What's next? You turn the page, So that I was like, wow, I was impressed. I was like, wow, this guy's good.
That's awesome. And you see this a lot of athletes, especially, they have other talents in the news this week as well. And our hearts go out to his family. Tim Tebow hitting a home run. Speaking of multiple talents, right? Was it Tebow?
Yeah. The guy from football.
Yeah, he hit a home run, not in the major leagues, not in the MLB. But in the farm team, he hit a home run in one of the games.
Yeah. People are saying that he's actually better at baseball than he is at football. But hey, you were asking me just a minute ago. You asked me a question about Josh. You were saying, the fights that stood out for me. Of course, the Eddie Gordon fight. The Eddie Gordon fight. Yeah. That was his fight. His return after his girlfriend died, and he was grieving. This was his return fight. So there's so much emotion, and to finish in that fashion, to finish in dramatic fashion, and he just you remember. I watched it today, but I remember seeing it live. He kind of broke down. He was kneeling, and then he went up to the camera and he says, "This is for," I think it was her name Haley. I think it was Haley.
Yes.
And for his mom, that was the other thing. Grew up without a dad. Ran away from home at age 16, so really, inspiration.
What was his age? You know how old he was?
28.
28. Now, this is a huge epidemic for every generation, but specifically right now, and I'm not saying, it's what was found in the system or anything, but the opiate epidemic going on around here in the East Coast is a very dangerous thing. I lose somebody close to me every year, it seems like. Here in New Haven, there was overdose, like 14 or 15 overdoses in one day out here. It's a very scary thing. And it all starts, in high school, getting your wisdom teeth out or being at a party, and one thing leads to another, man. And it's just this very scary thing to deal with. It throws your whole life off track. And it happens to some of the best people out there.
Yeah, it's not just, the stereotypical junkie, the poor person shuffling around, homeless, sleeping on the streets kind of thing. No, this is everybody.
This is your doctor, your lawyer, your judge.
Right. I remember back in it's like the 1998. Let's put it that way. 1998, I did a story about heroin here in Pennsylvania, and there were kids, middle class kids, who, from all accounts, came from good families, getting good grades, and they were driving to Philadelphia and getting heroin and bringing it back and selling it to their friends, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's that was my first experience reporting on it, was in the late 90s. But here we are, 2016, and it's still going on, and it's stronger today, because they're cutting it with fentanyl, which is a really, really powerful painkiller, and all sorts of other junk that they're putting in it. So it just makes it even more powerful, I covered a lot in my job, so yeah.
It's just a shame, and our hearts definitely go out to his family. Ted, what's going on in the chat room?
Well, let's see here. We got Ann. Ann's there. Pat's there. Minion's there.
Hey, Minion. And everyone, make sure you guys check out Minion's page right here on YouTube since you're already here. Just type in Minion McGrunion. Ted, can you spell that for everyone?
Yeah, Minion, like Minions from Despicable Me.
Despicable Me, yep.
or there was also a Minion in what was that movie with Will Ferrell? Where it was an animated movie where he had the big blue head. Megamind.
Megamind, that was a great movie.
There was a Minion. His sidekick was Minion.
Great flick right there.
Yeah. So Minion, Minion, and then McGrunion, MC capital Grognon.
Definitely check his videos out. He does segments with me on my podcast. You guys can check that out on Apple iTunes. I also have clips up on my Twitter page. If you're not really too sure what kind of podcast you like, my podcast is just featured on Clamored. Clamor app, which is pretty much, it previews you clips after clip, 24-second clips of podcasts. Me and Minion are up on there. If you want to check that out, definitely do it. Evil and Intoxicated is every Wednesday night, so subscribe down below. Check out Minion's page. What else do we got in the news, though, Ted?
Well, let's see. Do you want to talk about 204, or do you want to talk about Jules the Jackal or Jose Aldo? Those are the three topics we have left.
Let's jump into Jose Aldo talk. Now, Ted.
Yes.
We left off last week. We were talking about the 205 presser. So this kind of is a rebirth of that discussion in a way, because we were talking about this. We showed everybody the clip of Khabib's tweet of him being upset. But now Jose Aldo found his voice and is really putting a halt to everything going on, to the point where he's saying, even if you guys offered me a rematch with Conor McGregor now, I don't care. I want out. And everyone's talking about it right now. What's Ted Czech think about it?
Yeah, I was reading his comments, reading Jose's comments. He was saying, he wants to get into something entirely different. I thought he even said like a different sport. But, he owns a cheeseburger joint somewhere down in Brazil. And, he's made some good money, and he's probably saved a lot of money. He came from nothing. So chances are he's managed that money well. He doesn't have expensive taste like Conor does, right? So he's got a good chunk of money. He doesn't need to fight anymore, and you can tell the guy is just fed up. Now you listen to Dana White, and Dana White's like, he gets emotional. No, I haven't called him yet. I'm not going to call him because he's still emotional. So like Dana's going to thinks that he's going to calm down. Like he's a little kid that throws a temper tantrum, and you let the little kid sit in his room for a half hour, and then he's fine. I don't know. I think he's being a bit patronizing, Dana White, when he says stuff like that, and he says, "Oh, hey, we got Khabib a fight. We put him on 205." Yeah, but he's pissed about it. He's pissed that he's not fighting for the title. So Dana White says, "Yeah, we got Khabib a fight. We can get something cool for Jose. Something cool."
Yeah, they said they're gonna pay him back somehow.
Yeah, so we'll get him something cool. Like what? You're gonna get him an action figure? I mean, like he's not a little kid.
Yeah.
You get a kid a toy and the kid's happy. Well, it doesn't work like that. It ain't gonna be that easy. This guy is really pissed.
And like we said, starting the show off, this has been a revolution this year of fighters finding their voice. So Jose Aldo isn't happy at all. Any of our listeners out there that don't really know, he was promised this fight with Conor McGregor, came back in there after being knocked out after 13 seconds, and was promised after his fight with Frankie Edgar at UFC 200 that he was going to be fighting Conor McGregor next, or Conor was going to have to give up that title. So come last weekend, and we talked about it on the last episode of Evil Intoxicated, Tuesday was announced that Conor McGregor was going to be fighting Eddie Alvarez. And originally, it was supposed to be Conor McGregor versus Aldo. So Aldo is absolutely pissed about this and has kind of been hinting towards Bellator. He's freaking out about it. So this is not fair. And I want to know what you think, because Eddie Alvarez was asked on the MMA Hour about this. Like, what was going on? Do you think that Jose Aldo and Khabib Nurmagomedov got, like we say, honey-dicked?
I love that phrase. Yeah, I mean, Conor McGregor and also the UFC managed to piss off two guys with the one fight. When they set up Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, they pissed off Jose Aldo and they pissed off Khabib Nurmagomedov. They pissed off both of those, the two top contenders. And that was something that somebody else. I was reading something about. The UFC is losing contenders. Look at Rory McDonald, contender. They lost him, and who else? There was another one that they lost.
Matt Mitrione,
but not exactly really a contender per se. But I mean, Jose Aldo. I'm like Conor now. I keep saying Jose. For years I've been saying Jose Aldo, and now I'm saying Jose. It's killing me. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, they're running the risk of losing a lot of these contenders. By granting the wishes of the champions, namely Conor, at this point.
Now,
the other thing is Road FC, which is an Asian MMA organization. They
said, "Come on down, Jose."
Yeah, they're planning a $1 million lightweight tournament. Now, Jose Aldo, has he ever fought at lightweight? I don't know, but I mean, he could make 155. He's a good-sized 145er. They're having a middleweight, $1 million lightweight tournament sometime next year, possibly in the spring. And yeah, they've extended an invitation to him. So, well, I don't know. We'll just have to see how that all shakes out. But I mean, you read what he said. Jose Aldo said, and he's like, I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to fight Conor. I don't want to fight.
He released a really cool quote that I read, posted by my boy Yusuf, saying that it was like, I train mixed martial arts, and it comes with respect. And I don't like the way this game is going here at the UFC, with champions throwing water bottles and Monster Energy drinks and snorting cocaine. And I thought that he made a really great point. Now, in defense, Ted, of the UFC, and I don't know why Dana's not being straightforward with them and really playing around, but in defense of Dana White and the matchmaking over there in regards to Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor 2, last year they really over-promoted this. Number 2, coming off a knockout win, this is going to be one of the biggest fight in Jose Aldo's career. He needs to get this win. He needs to be careful. Now, is the UFC protecting Jose Aldo, so to say? Because you're really supposed to wait, what would you recommend, a year after being knocked out brutally like that to get a full recovery?
Well, he's already had a fight in between that. If you're talking about the Conor McGregor knockout, he already had the fight.
Yeah, he had the fight with Frankie Edgar, yes. But still, what's a good time length to take off after being brutally knocked out like that? This is a very important fight. You need to really take that serious. Now, I don't know why the UFC is not bringing any of this up or being straightforward with Jose Aldo. I do not agree with that, but do you think that might have something to do with it?
If the fact that he got knocked out and the recovery period, I think that ship has sailed because they signed the fight with Frankie Edgar. I don't think that they're concerned with that at all. I think that well, in Dana White's words, take it for what it's worth, because I don't trust a lot of what that guy says, but I think he does have a point here when he says, look, I give Conor more leeway, I give him a longer rope than I do anybody else, because he backs up everything he says. Whether it's calling his shots, like I'm going to knock this person out, or short notice fights, everything Conor says he does. So, and besides, the underlying thing is, and he makes a shit ton of money for the UFC.
Yeah,
it's the combination of the two, you see.
Yeah.
But so that's why Dana White basically lets Conor run the table. And then I think Dana White will figure, you know what? If we piss people off, we'll be able to smooth that over. We'll smooth it over in time. The dust will settle, and everybody will be chill, and we'll make amends. As long as we have our cash cow and we keep him happy, if everybody else gets a little bit pissed off every now and then, what are you going to do? It's a business. People are going to get pissed off. You can't make everybody happy. I think that's kind of the philosophy here.
And I think they really want Conor's story to unravel, because remember, he's picking up right now where he left off after the Jose fight, because he was originally supposed to fight RDA, and we talked about this last week. Originally supposed to fight RDA, then fought Nate, then had the rematch with Nate, and now he's back. He wants to get that second title. It's the New York card. This is the fight everyone wants. Conor McGregor to get that second title, the UFC's debut in New York City. I think that's a perfect main event. Conor McGregor brings a whole new energy, just like Ronda does, to the stage, and you need one of those big named people for your card at UFC 205. Now, was it smart to not have Jose here? Would that have done just as good?
Conor versus Jose? Well, I guess it would depend on how you promote it. You could promote it. You could say belt versus belt. We're gonna unify the titles, and so that kind of has a certain prestige to it, right? But now you've got, the way they're probably going to promote it now is one man is going for 2 belts for the first time in UFC history. So that's the way they're going to play it up. You could promote it either way.
That's huge.
You could. I think they're looking at it and they're going, that's even more monumental. That's the first time ever, since the beginning, since 1993, that this has the potential to ever happen. So that's the biggest thing. The biggest card in UFC history, in the most famous arena in the world, in one of the biggest, most famous cities in the world, and there's nothing bigger that's been at stake. So it's the holy grail.
It's really
the holy grail of MMA right here. So go ahead.
The UFC does such good promotions, Ted. I can see it right now. You put the whole painting in my head of like their promo of the Statue of Liberty with the deep voice. Once in UFC history, it's never been done before. 1 man, 2 belts.
Yeah,
New York, 2016.
Yep, there you go, man. You got it.
Like, come on, that's perfect, especially for the month of November, especially everyone getting ready for Thanksgiving and everything. November 12th, right? New York?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, come on. This is going to be crazy. I think that this was the perfect fight as well. Not only the over-promotion of the Jose Aldo thing, I do not know what's going to happen to Jose. I don't think he's actually going to leave, more than he's really just making a statement right now. But I am excited for Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, and I've said this before. I think the fight that should have happened was Conor versus Jose. That should have happened. Conor should defend the 145. He should defend the featherweight belt. That's the right thing to do. But then this is the business side. This is the what's right for business versus what's right for I don't know if you want to call it not morals or ethics, but just what's right for the sport. What's right for the business versus the sport. UFC is a business. MMA is a sport. They don't always quite match up.
And you know what? A lot of people out there are so mad because they're used to wrestling and fighting that way because, there's ranking. So you fight the next rank up and you work your way up the ladder. And here in the UFC, it's kind of just like who's putting on the best story and the most exciting performances. It's not just one or the other, So Conor McGregor packs a huge punch, especially he brought a lot to the table at that UFC 205 presser. It changed the entire game.
Oh, man. I know. We went off on it last week, and we could do it again. We could do another hour on it this week.
Yeah.
But so Jose Aldo. Yeah, go ahead.
No, finish it on Jose Aldo because I was gonna jump to something else related to Conor McGregor.
Oh no, I basically, I feel for the guy. I feel bad for him. Hopefully it all works out. You know what? I wouldn't have a problem with him leaving. I don't know how he can do it legally, but if he could fight it in Ryzen or Road FC or Bellator or whatever, they're not going to get rid of him though. That's the thing. He's too good of a fighter. He's the interim champion right now.
Yeah.
They're not going to just let him walk. There's no way they're letting him walk.
And that would be awful if that really does happen, because he led such a great legacy over there. One more thing I want to bring up, though, Ted. Yeah. Conor McGregor, there was a picture that came up of him, of what it looks like smoking pot. Now, I know that you did a video on this. Can you give everyone a quick preview of what you took out of this? Because I don't even know what the full story is, so I'm hoping that you do.
I think it's an Instagram post. So because people are getting mad at me for showing it. Saying, you know, what are you, a narc? Or they didn't call me a narc, but something like, what are you doing to the guy? You're tattletaling on him or whatever. I'm like, no, he put it on his Instagram, for God's sake. So it's Conor, and I believe he's in the same suit that he wore for the
205. Yeah.
So he's probably still in New York at that point, because I think that the line was something like, "We run New York" or something, and "We run something," and it's him. And one of his training partners. It's actually the guy. I forget the guy's name, but he's the fighter that was in the cage when the Brazilian fighter died in Ireland. João.
Okay.
Was it João Carvalho or
something like that?
Yeah. This is the fighter that was in the cage. This is the deceased fighter's opponent. He's a welterweight Irish guy. I can't remember his name, but he's standing there with Conor. Conor's got what looks like a bottle of Grey Goose in one hand, and then he's got, well, what could be, a joint in the other hand. So it led to a lot of speculation, and I was just like, well, geez, okay, so he just better be careful.
That's what I was saying, because if you're going in there for one of the biggest fights of your life, you want that second belt, man. Smoking pot is probably not the best way to go. Now, if they tested him, what's the kind of testing like? What do they do for testing here? Like, they see a picture like that. Now, you would think USADA would be all over it.
You never know. But there's been a lot of shady stuff that's been going on. Remember the whole Brock Lesnar controversy? Did they know before the fight that he pissed hot? Or did they not? Were they maybe paid off?
And we talked about this too, Ted. You brought up a great point about it, because the UFC pays USADA to do this.
Right, they hired him. They hired the company. So are they essentially USADA's boss? So can they say, hold off on that?
Yeah.
Hold that thought for a couple of days or whatever. You know what I mean? So maybe Conor has been tested before. We know that. We've seen records of that.
One of the most tested fighters in the UFC.
What's that?
One of the most tested fighters in the UFC.
Yeah. We know he's been tested, but as far as stuff like this, little transgressions, like this, maybe they know to keep away from him. I don't know. But, I mean, they saw Nate Diaz with that, he had that pen.
Joint with Tommy Chong. Oh, well, no, you're talking about the CBD oil.
Oh, that's right. That huge doobie. Yeah, that. Oh man. Yeah, there was that. But even prior to that, they said they were going to investigate him for the CBD oil, which everybody tells me is legal in all 50 states.
Yeah, it doesn't get you high. It counteracts you getting high, actually. So a lot of the argument is like for kids with narcolepsy and stuff like that. You don't want the kids smoking pot because you don't want them to be getting high. So they took this, which it comes from the pot plant, and it counteracts getting high. So it's just helping your muscles relax, and they're seeing a lot of good coming out of it.
That's so crazy that this plant, this one plant, there's like over 200 active ingredients in it, and they all have different properties, it seems. Hey, just want to cut in for 1 second. Wonder Boy, I don't know who this is. He calls himself Wonder Boy New UFC Champ Thompson. And he said Kat Zingano versus Holly Holm, UFC 207. That's new.
Kat Zingano versus Holly Holm. I love that fight. Kat Zingano is a fierce contender, Ted, going up against Holly Holm, which we've all been waiting to see what her next opponent is. I think you called this out a couple episodes ago that you wanted Kat Zingano to fight Holly Holm.
I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know, but I like it too because Holly's coming off of 2 losses in a row. She needs to rebound. She's nowhere near title contention, this is a good fight for her. I mean, but not easy by any stretch.
Oh.
But no, it's a good, competitive fight for both of them.
What else is going on in the chat room, Ted? Because I made post today. I kind of switched it up to let people know that this is more of a Q&A kind of a show. Like, we talk the news, but, I was trying to recruit more people in. What's going on in there?
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to tell you about Kat Zingano versus Holly Holm. It's according to our buddy Wonder Boy. I appreciate it. I mean, he spelled his last name wrong, but that's okay. We're going to let that slide. Let's see. The Minion says, nothing official, Wonder Boy, but it would seem that way from Zingano's tweets. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you know what? I thought so. Minion's, he's wondering if it's Brooklyn, and I seem to think that it is, in fact, our buddy Brooklyn.
Oh, that would be sweet. I've been waiting for Brooklyn to come back.
He changed his screen name, his handle.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking.
What else is going on in the chat room? Who else is in there?
Oh, okay. The speculation on what's going to be the bombshell that Conor McGregor is going to drop immediately following his UFC 205 fight. What will that be? Minion saying, people speculating today McGregor's big news will be retirement. Whoop, and it just went up. Oh, okay. Retirement. If he wins, to go off and work on his boxing for the Mayweather payday.
Oh.
See, and then you got Dana White saying, I don't think either one of those guys is serious about it. They don't want to fight each other. It's bullcrap.
And it's almost to the play.
I kind of like that. I thought at first that it was going to be Dee Devlin's pregnant, and then other people were saying he's got a family issue he needs to resolve. I mean, he's not getting along with somebody, or that's close to him. I don't know, but I kind of like this idea because. Who was it? Freddie Roach who said
he would have to retire from the UFC to be able to go and do that.
Yeah, and Conor always just wanted to hold the belt. Conor always wanted to just hold the belts. He's not interested in defending any belt. He doesn't want to defend against Jose Aldo. He just wants to hold two belts. He's like, I want a belt on this shoulder and a belt on this shoulder.
And they're gonna need an army to get him off of me.
Yeah, there you go. You don't do fucking nothing. But. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care about defending. He just wants to have that. It's just symbolic to him that he achieved that. He wants the achievement. So this makes sense. I like what Minion's saying here because he's going to need a couple of years, at least. Didn't Freddie Roach say that he would need a few years?
Yeah. Yep. I remember that interview. Now, Ted. Imagine if that is the truth, and they're like trying to convince Jose to stand. No, we're gonna give you, and Conor just retires right after this.
Oh man, wouldn't that just suck?
Jesus, and of course Conor brought it up at the press conference too. Dana saying it's not gonna happen unless Floyd comes to the UFC. That's not gonna happen. This is the money fight. This almost has to happen. It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. It sounds a little silly, but it's gonna bring in money, and I think that's what's gonna drive it to happen.
And here's the other thing. If Conor wins the lightweight belt, his stock is going to go through the roof.
We're watching history, Ted. I'm not going to say it again to everyone. We're watching history.
All right, so follow me here. So his notoriety goes through the roof, right? What he wants to be on an even plane with McGregor. With Mayweather. With Mayweather. He wants to make. There's no way he's gonna do like a 70-30 or a 60-40. He wants a 50-50 split. You make $200 million, I make $200 million, or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think with this win, if he does get this win, he's going to be able to say that. He's going to be like, hey, look, I am as big a star as you are. We will co-promote this damn thing, and we will split it down the frickin' middle.
And I remember at one point this year, Floyd Money Mayweather even offered Conor McGregor, $100 million to fight on New Year's Eve. And everyone was blowing up about that. Colin Cowherd and Dana White were actually talking about it, and they almost made it sound like it really was official. Now, this was the same week.
Yeah, that guy, for as big a star as he is, that Cowherd guy, he was totally wrong on that.
He was like, book your tickets now.
Yeah, I remember that. Get out of here.
Well, because Dana White was coming on the show like every other day, it seemed like. And
I know. You can't trust Dana White. I've said it time and time again. You can't trust that guy.
Now, another thing that came up about this presser, Ted, before we move on to anything else, was how Conor McGregor found out that information about Eddie Alvarez not taking more money for this fight. Like how would he find the information out? This is information you don't want to be shared. Your personal information about how much money you're making or signing for this fight. How would Conor find that out?
And then he was upset about it, right? He was upset about
it. Almost seemed it. They were talking about it on Ariel Helwani's show. Ariel Helwani's question was to Eddie Alvarez, and he couldn't figure out. He was like, you know what? That's a really good question. I don't know how Conor McGregor found out how it got paid, and it makes you question because Dana runs his mouth a lot. But it also could be the management team setting it up because they like to discuss, what they've accomplished for, the fight. And
well, yeah, I mean, like Conor may not have been at the negotiating table. He would have his handlers, his lawyers, and management. And so then, they may have discussed it and then passed it along to Conor. But I thought Eddie was. And one thing I read was that he was holding out for more money. That was what was holding up some of the contract signing was that he wanted more money.
Now, what Eddie Alvarez said in the MMA Hour interview with Ariel Helwani was the reason why he didn't do it is that because he's happy with this money and he feels like Conor McGregor has a lot more to offer, and that's why he's making this much money. He puts on the show at the presser and goes in the ring and fights, and Eddie was like, this is the money fight that everyone wants. I was happy with what they offered me for this because I forgot exactly quote for quote what his words were, but like he said in the press conference, he's one of the easiest opponents they could give me right now, which I don't think is true at all.
So you're talking about his base salary though, right? We're not talking about pay-per-view points.
Well, the pay-per-view points, that's another thing. He's going to make a lot off of that as well.
So say he's making, his regular salary, his flat fee, or I don't know if he does win versus or show and win, but like let's just say for sake of argument he's making $250,000 for the fight. Maybe that hasn't changed, but maybe the pay-per-view points have changed, and that's where you make some real cash. Maybe that changed. Maybe that's what he renegotiated.
Well, he's going to be getting $200,000 for a fight and $200,000 if he wins. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going.
Is that what it is? Okay.
But then again, there's the pay-per-view points as well to throw in the mix. He's going to be making a decent paycheck, more than he would usually make. So
right. So he could. So Conor changed his bum life.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's a red panty night.
I love it. So moving on now, guys. And before we move on, Ted, anything else in the chat room before we scooch him a gooch?
Let's see. Dan the Hangman replacing BJ Penn. This is according to Ann. Yeah, that's right. BJ Penn is injured for UFC Fight Night it's in the Philippines.
Yeah, in Manila. The Thrilla in Manila.
Yeah. The Philippines.
Had quick look at I changed studios for everybody, and I got a new studio all set up here for everyone to kind of look like. I got a back deck over here, go outside.
I got a
humidifier
nice
in here, twice the size of my last studio in the other room.
Well, what room is this in your domicile? What is it? What did you convert?
I have 3 bedrooms here. All right, I have 3 bedrooms, living room, bathroom. This is like the spare bedroom. It actually is twice the size of any other room. It's almost like another living room, but I don't use it. It has a back deck and entrance, back deck, and twice the size. A lot of space, bright, as you guys can see. I remember a lot of people saying, it's a little dark.
Yeah.
Same theme going on. It's just a lot bigger space, more of an echo in here. I like the acoustics. It's I'm loving it, man.
Nice, good job. You can see I'm still down here in the basement.
In the grow room. I love that. In the grow room.
Grow room or the rubber room, whichever you prefer,
When you first said that, Ted, I really thought that you were in a grow room, bro.
Dude, I just did a story today about these 2 guys that they're looking for. They haven't caught them yet, but they had an entire house dedicated to a growing operation. I'm not talking like room upon room, plants upon 1,000 plants, over 1,000 plants. And get this, the only way that the police discovered it was because a fire accidentally broke out there.
That sounds like that season of Weeds. There used to be a season on HBO called Weeds, one of my favorite things. That's how they got blown up.
Yeah, so the cops and the firefighters get there, there's flames and everything, and they're like, "You smell that?" Oh yeah. So they put the fire out, and the cops are like, "We better go inside just to make sure the fire's out."
Donut run.
Yeah. So they under that pretense, or just, to investigate the fire, to see what the origin of the fire. Oh, there it is. Look at all this
Imagine
stuff.
that. Imagine seeing that, like totally unexpected, just going to a house and just seeing that. Like, oh my god.
Well, then there was somebody. It was like a year ago. Somebody was dumb enough to have two plants in front of their house,
Great.
like about 5
Great.
feet high, one on either side of their front door.
We got a winner here.
Yeah,
What a
I'm kidding
winner.
you, dude. I mean, like, they kind of lived in the sticks, but not entirely. So the UPS guy or the post office comes up to deliver a package, and what do they see? But two plants on either side of the front door.
Ain't
And the
nothing
guy
wrong with that.
the guy who lived there was like the director of the our theater in town,
Get out of here.
like a major arts theater, where all the bands and performers come.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he was the director.
That's freaking awesome. And you know what? I love the generation that we're living in. 2016 is awesome because there's literally a dispensary right down the road from me. Like, it's just, I love it. I love that people are finally realizing that there's nothing wrong with a little pot. All right, Ted. Birthdays this week, I just want to mention Scott Coker from Bellator. It is his birthday this week. And I just want to say congratulations on having one of the best years in MMA business-wise. He's having a great year over there at Bellator.
Yeah, I just wish I said this before, I just wish they would put on more shows, man.
I know.
I need more Bellator.
They're going to be coming over here to Connecticut. My dad actually called me last night about it. Was wondering if I was going to go cover it. I'm not sure yet, but they're coming here to Connecticut very soon, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, so your dad's into it, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, when I was a little boy, we used to rent every pay-per-view when I was little. I remember literally watching Mike Tyson bite off Evander Holyfield's ear off and just not even like being able to stomach it, like looking at that and just being like that's real, like that really just happened. He bit his ear off, like what?
Yeah.
My dad's a pretty kick-ass dude. He rides motorcycles all the time. He's a pretty kick-ass dude.
Nice. I didn't get that pay-per-view. I got the one with Lennox Lewis where he totally knocked out Tyson. I think he knocked him out. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wonder Boy is asking me. He said we need to link our pages somehow. I said, what pages? And he said, mine. He said, I found it through you, but it took me a while. Oh, I guess he's talking about my YouTube channel, I think.
Oh, yes. And that's something that we needed to figure out for sure. Because if there was a way that we could link this show to go live on your channel as well as mine at the same simultaneously, I think that would be a huge way to get a lot more viewers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a couple. I've got a little following, and
Yeah.
No, I've often thought that. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it.
The Czech Republic.
Yeah, hey, I like that. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that off the air, and see what we can do. But how about this guy? Are you good with whatever the heck we were talking about?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, Jules the Jackal. Are you up on this story?
Yes, and I'm up on the story that happened with him a while back too that we definitely need to touch upon.
All right, so this is a dude. I believe he's Australian, covered in tattoos, head to toe. I mean, I'm talking like all over the face. Like probably, I think his record is 6-4, his official record. I made a joke like, if he saved his money, all that money that he spent on the tattoos, maybe he'd get more MMA lessons and be a better fighter. But anyway, I mean, he's absolutely he's probably the most hated man in MMA, or close to it at this point. He's up there with Cowboy Oliveira and who else? Platinum Mike Perry, or Mike Perry's group, or whatever, for the racist stuff. But anyway, this guy, Jules the Jackal, his name is Julian Wallace. That's his real name. So he's an Australian fighter. He beat up his girlfriend, his fiance. He attacked her because she brought home the wrong noodles. I mean, there would be no reason whatsoever that would be justified, but that's just beyond stupid.
That is the wrong bitch, where's my right noodle?
Yeah, right.
I want a lo mein, not chow mein.
What an idiot. And she's an MMA fighter. She goes by Jessie Jess. Her real name is Jessie something else, but she goes by Jessie Jess. And there was one report I read, though, that okay, so he put her in a chokehold. She was tapping. She was trying to tap out, and he wouldn't release it. Eventually, she got out of it.
There's no ref there.
Yeah, no, I know.
You're dating a psycho. Did
He's
the
right
tattoos on the face not say anything to you that you're probably your mom's not going to be happy when you bring them home for supper? That's all I'm saying.
Right. And I guess she was trying to appeal to whatever sensibilities she thought he might still have. So she's tapping. I guess she eventually got out of it. One report I read said she actually kicked him in the head, though. That she actually put him down with a head kick after all that.
After?
I think.
Good for her. Good for her.
I'm not. That was one report I read. I'm not sure about that.
I hope so.
This guy's got a long track record of being a dick.
So now, Ted, there's a video of him. Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a video of him on the internet that surfaced, I want to say, about last year sometime, of him. What's his name again for everybody out there?
Oh, this guy, Julian Wallace, a.k.a. Jules the Jackal.
So there's a video of him, and at the weigh-ins, I don't know what corporation he fights for or company he fights for, but there's a video of him at the weigh-ins. He was champion, and he's pushing his opponent around, kind of trying to intimidate him and get into his face. Following day, he gets his freaking ass kicked by the other dude that literally was just so humble, and I love that clip.
That's Ben Nguyen from Ben 10 Nguyen. Yeah, okay. From the UFC. He's in the UFC now.
He's in the UFC now. They hired him specifically because of that video, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah. Because I mean, Jules was like pushing his fist into his face at the weigh-ins, pushing his fist into his face, grinding his forehead to forehead, and then went like that. And I mean, Ben's just like, "You are an idiot, and I'm gonna fucking kick your ass."
He's from New York, isn't he? Or no. He just fought at home somewhere. Where is he from? He just fought not too long ago, and it was one of his fights at home. I think he lost. I'm not sure. Yeah, no,
I think you're right. He did fight recently, but so there was that, and then there's another video that I found where another opponent scooped him up, slammed him down, and broke Jules the Jackal's arm. His arm was like, I can't even do it, but he had noodle arm. Speaking of noodles.
He had noodle arm.
He had noodle arm, yeah, because his arm was all bent. It was broken. It was broken.
Now, I wonder if she ordered the wrong noodles or if they gave her the wrong noodles.
Oh, wait, one more thing. There's one more video, a more recent one. He thought it would be a good idea to train at Team Alpha Male, Jules the Jackal. So he traveled overseas, traveled to Team Alpha Male in California, and apparently was mouthing off there. And I don't remember the guy's name. One of their team members kicked the crap out of him. TKO'd him.
Outside of practice?
No, right in the middle of practice. They're sparring, and I don't know whether Jules said something to him or maybe hit him a little too hard or whatever. And the guy went bang, just knocked him down. I mean,
that's great. I
didn't
love
put him out, but TKO'd him. I mean, just.
That brings like a sense of humbleness to a lot of people out there. When people that kind of bully get put in their place, there's nothing better than witnessing something like that.
This guy apparently doesn't learn. You know what I mean? He doesn't learn.
And what's going on now with what were his charges, and do you know any more information about the legalness?
The latest thing was, okay, so he put something up on Facebook and then he later deleted it, trying to defend himself, saying, "Oh, leave me alone. You don't know what's going on, blah 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 blah." He deleted that, but he apparently had nudes of his fiance and released those.
Great. What a great guy. What a great. Her mom must be so proud. So proud of her. What are you doing with this guy? You get choked out for bringing home the wrong noodles. You think he's going to let you go if you tap 3 times? This dude's out of his mind.
Yeah. That's like War Machine level domestic violence right there.
We see this a lot in in sports, a lot of domestic abuse out there, and it pisses me off every time, dude. Something you don't do. So you can't be forgiven for it.
Right. I mean, it is it's everywhere. I mean, I cover crime, like I said, it's everywhere. But I think we notice it in sports, because these guys are supposed to be role models, or some of them don't consider themselves role models, but they're in the public eye regardless.
In defense, though, Ted, there are some crazy women out there, man.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, HBO did a big thing on it, on domestic violence. I thought they played it up a bit with War Machine and everything. I mean, the guy's despicable, but then taking that and creating this narrative that it's only in MMA, that it hasn't existed in football for decades.
Why do I feel like I saw? Was that's older, isn't it?
That was from a year or two ago. It was Real Sports with Brian Gumble. Gumble. Yeah, so anyway, so Jules the Jackal, he gets the douche of the day.
Douche of the day. Love that. New segment. Douche of the day.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I had another one this week, too. I forget who it was.
The douche of the day. I love that, Ted.
Oh, man. Now I can't think of who it was. I had another douche of the day.
What do you guys think about that in the chat room? All right, Ted. 23 celebrities become partial owners of the UFC. Huge news. And some of the changes that we knew that were going to take place because, what is it, IMEG? What's the name of the...
WME-IMG. It was the William Morris Entertainment, and then don't ask me what IMG stands for. But WME-IMG. It's a huge... it's like, a conglomerate. It's like two companies or several companies that came together, two major companies, and yeah, they represent a lot of actors, a lot of major actors and athletes.
Now, one thing I want to mention that came out of this was CM Punk tweeting out, Ben Affleck's my boss? So it made me question, Dana White said that he wasn't in the UFC anymore. Is CM Punk going to fight again? What's going on?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, did you want to talk about the actors, or I'll talk about?
Yeah, just like in full, just 23, and it might be a very small share, but they brought open that option to release it, and 23 new investors of it. This is huge because it's really helping our sport get mainstream, and it helps people like you and me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, check it out. So they represent people like Ben Affleck, Conan O'Brien, the Venus and Serena Williams. I can't remember who else, but a lot of A-listers. Okay, and I saw somebody pointed out the seating arrangement, if you will, for Madison Square Garden. There's a small section it's the closest section to the cage. That suite, they're calling it a suite. It's $50,000 a seat.
What?
Not kidding you. 52 or 54, whatever. $1,000, $50-something thousand per seat. That's where you put Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
That's where you put the Williams sisters, because then you put the camera on them and you go, whoa, look at these famous people that love the UFC.
UFC, yes.
And not everybody's going to know that they're part owners. See, that's you and me. And our friends, they know because we're in the know. We're the hardcores. Not everybody's going to know that, you see. But you see, you get somebody like Conan O'Brien who's
on TV every single night.
Right, and he promotes now. He's promoting the UFC.
One of my favorites.
He's got an extra stake in the UFC now in promoting it because he's going to make money off of it.
And we've been seeing a lot of UFC fighters go on late night shows with Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel. It's coming out a lot more in mainstream. Like I said, it's going to be helping people like you and me. It's making more jobs. People are more interested in this. I'm telling you guys, when I was growing up, it was the stories about Mickey Mantle. It was the stories about Babe Ruth, watching Derek Jeter. Right now, 2016, it's in MMA. It's with Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey. It's here. It's today. It's now.
Yeah, and if you notice in some of the previous pay-per-views, from years ago, the UFC would always focus on who's in the crowd. Oh, there's Mandy Moore. Oh, there's Shaq. Well, now they're gonna focus on these folks, and they're A-listers, and they'll give them free seats. They'll give them free $50,000 seats. Sit them right up in the front, and so yeah, it's just gonna add to the prestige and the notoriety of the UFC. So we're really gonna see, I think, a new level of mainstream exposure.
And in the past couple of years, we've been seeing a lot more stars. Usually, when there's like UFC events, you see like one big star and a lot of B stars, like B-list stars. Now, 2015, 2016, you're seeing like 3-4 famous people, big names at every UFC pay-per-view event, and that draws in a huge people like, oh, they're interested in it. They send out a tweet that makes people want to watch. It's just a great thing happening in MMA right now between UFC, Bellator, everywhere.
So check this out though. This WME IMG, right? They represent actors. Actors are in the Screen Actors Guild, which is a union.
Or as South Park would say, the Film Actors Guild.
so I get it. Oh man. So anyway, no, you totally screwed me up here. But anyway, it's a union, right? The UFC fighters, I think, well, at least I've concluded, they need a union, right?
Definitely.
We're seeing all these guys like we talked about before, Mark Hunt and Habib and Jose rising up, finding their voice, as you said. And so we need a collective body to advocate for them. And so I don't see why we can't get this going, because WME IMG is already used to unions. They know how to work with unions because all of their actors are in the union. So It's not a big leap for the UFC fighters to be in a union too. Let's make it happen, please.
And I'm really interested to what these actors really can do with their stake in the company. Like, do you know any information about? Like, do they have any say in anything at all? Or are they just own?
I don't. I would imagine that they're just investors, and I mean, you can split up, you can divvy up 4.2 billion quite a bit, but I mean, I don't know, money wise, we'd have to look. Maybe that's a good question. There's at least one or two sites out there, websites that look at the financial side of MMA and of the UFC. That'd be a good question for them. Like, how much do you think each one of these people invested? Like maybe they invested $500,000.
According to Conan, he got like $40 worth.
No, you know what I mean? Maybe if you got like 23 of them, they each invested $500,000.
Yeah.
They could spare that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a pittance, compared to 4.2 billion. But they've got a little stake, and they're going to see a return on their investment, I guess.
Absolutely crazy. A great news for the sport, if you ask me. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into UFC 204, Ted?
No, let's do it. Let's jump right in.
Let's jump right into it. All right, so this upcoming weekend, there's some big fights coming, finally. UFC 204, the rematch. Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping, or Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson, whichever way you want to name it.
Yeah, you put the champ first, I guess.
Got to put the champ first. Right off the bat, Ted, I want to start with talking about Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve's coming in here, and he's going to be fighting Dan O. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name because I can't. Anyways.
I'm going to take a stab at it because I believe he is Polish. Omilanchuk.
Oh, okay, I can't pronounce that.
Just call him Danny O.
That's what I called him I was like, I'm going with Danny O here. So Stefan Struve coming off a huge win to Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah, Struve, man, that the skyscraper, he's what, 6'11" or
7 foot.
And they bumped him up to 7. I remember for a while that he was 6'11", right?
Yeah, you know how they do it over there.
Okay, you've earned it. We're gonna give you 7 feet. But yeah, no, I like Struve, and he's had his health problems. Remember, he had like a heart condition.
Yes, he had surgery on his heart.
I think it's beyond that now. He's 27-8, 27 wins, 8 losses. Believe it or not, he has twice as many submissions as he does knockouts. He has 8 knockouts, 16 submissions. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he's submitted black belts before in fights. Before he got to the UFC. I like him in this fight. I don't know a whole lot about Danny O, but the one thing I do know about him, and looking at his record, never been knocked out, never been submitted. He has 5 losses, all by decision. I'm gonna have to go with Struve by decision.
By decision. And you know what, Ted? Congratulations on calling out that last week's fight of John Dodson Lineker going to decision. You called that one on the money.
I can't remember. Is that what I said?
Yeah, that's what you said. I was going to go to decision. I couldn't really see it.
I picked Dodson, though. I said Dodson by decision.
It was so close. It was literally so close. Dan O has a lot of strength. I'll give him that. I could see you going to decisions. Stefan Struve, though, has been on a tear and has always been a fierce competitor in that division. Hot and cold, though. Hot and cold.
Hot and cold, kind of hot and cold. Yeah, you're right. You know, here's the other takeaway. Danny O is only 6 feet tall. So he's dealing
he's
with...
only 6 feet tall.
I mean, well, in the heavyweight division, yeah, you can say that. You can say only. He's rather short for the heavyweight division at an even 6. He's going up against a guy who's got a foot on him in height and God knows how many inches in reach.
This is going to be a great fight. I love that. I love when they put Stefan Struve on cards because he brings another atmosphere to it as well. A lot of people enjoy watching him fight because they know that he always goes in there and either if it's going to be him ended or someone else, they're either going to get knocked out or submitted. And it's always a great fight.
I'd like to see Struve in like a grappling match with Shaq.
With Shaq.
Shaq's apparently not so bad on the ground. I mean, I don't know if he'd be any match for Struve, but I mean, he's huge. He's like, what is he, 7'1" and like 350?
Crazy, man. That's just crazy how big Shaq is.
Or maybe Shaq versus Hong Man Choi. You know that guy who fights over in Ryzen? He's like about the same size.
Jesus. So yeah, I'm leaning with Struve here too. Look at his record, man. 31-8. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm leaning with Struve here too. Also on this card, Ted, OSP. Oven St. Preux.
Right. Right. His last fight was against John Jones, right? Was that his last one, or did he have another
John
one?
Bones Jones, UFC 196? 197? Well, UFC 197.
So yeah, fighting Jimmy Manua.
Yeah, fighting Jimmy Manua. What do you think about this fight?
You know, OSP is a very I know the phrase is overused, but he's a well-rounded fighter. He really is. 9 knockouts, 5 submissions, 5 decisions. He's 19-8. You know, and he's a little bit of a, like you say, a hot and cold kind of guy. But I think he can get the win over Manua. Manua is kind of a one-dimensional striker. 15 wins, 13 of those by knockout. So if he's not knocking you out, he's not winning. And he's a very infrequent fighter. He only fought like a couple of times in the past couple of years. You know, the last time I remember him fighting, it was against Gus a couple of years ago or something.
He's got knockout power, man. I just think OSP is so well-rounded compared to him that OSP is going to come out with the win. He's got the length, great wrestling, great cardio and conditioning, and Manua has great knockout power. It's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I actually think that OSP is going to knock out Manua.
I could see that happen. He's been having a rough year, man, getting knocked out by Glover Teixeira in his hometown. That was rough. And he was one of the highly respected prospects not too long ago.
Right. And I think this is a good, this could be a good start of something for him.
Reboot. Yeah.
Yeah, this could be I like that. This could be the reboot for OSP. You know, get a win under his belt against Manua, who, like I said, is a one-dimensional kind of fighter. I mean, I said knockout. I did say knockout, but I can also envision pretty much any way OSP wants to do it. He can get a takedown on the guy and then submit him. You know what I mean? He's very proficient at that. So this is going to kind of be one of these, whatever presents itself to OSP first, that's what he's going to go with. He can end it any way he wants, I think. and so this would be a good win to get under his belt and be like, oh yeah, I got to win now. I'm climbing up.
Now remember, Ted, OSP has knockout power walking backwards as well. We've seen this happen with him in the past. Walk backwards, knocking people out. In that fight with John Bones Jones, man, he landed a couple of really nice shots on Bones. Let alone, though, a lot of people yell at me for this because he did lose every single round. But it wasn't like that crazy where it was like he could have won a couple of those rounds. Honestly, though, it's John Bones Jones. It's a tough fight for anyone out there. OSP, big position for him. That was a big fight for him. Fell to the former champion and really needs this reboot. I could see him getting the win as well here.
Yeah. All right. What do we got next?
So after that, Vitor Belfort versus Gegard the Mousasi.
Moose. Yeah. People like to call him Moose. Yeah, Vitor Belfort. This is what I wrote down for this one. You got a quick starter in Vitor Belfort versus a slow starter in Mousasi.
Good point. I'm happy that you pointed it out to everybody.
Yep. You hear people talk about Vitor Belfort. If you can survive the first round, if you can survive the Vitor blitz, because he's going to blitz you. If you can survive that, you got a pretty good chance of winning. I mean, yeah, he went, 4 or 5 rounds with John Jones and nearly submitted him.
Yeah, oh my God, that was a crazy fight.
But chances are, if you can get past that first round with this guy, this is a post-TRT Vitor, and that I think still comes into play. I mean, he's no spring chicken. He's been around for a long time. Gegard Mousasi, is good on the ground. He's good on the feet. So I see him surviving. I see him, although he has had difficulties. Remember how he got blitzed by Uriah Hall and lost. He got knocked out, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a dangerous fight for Mousasi.
For both guys. It's a dangerous fight for both guys. Vitor's in a tough spot.
I'm leaning towards Moose, though. I'm leaning towards him. I think if he can get Vitor on the ground, it's some ground and pound. Like outlast him for the first couple rounds and then take it to the ground. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. Probably not going to submit him. Vitor's it's tough to submit. Moose is good on the ground, but he's not. I don't know that he's good enough to submit Vitor. So I'm seeing wasn't that how Weidman finished Belfort? Got him down, and then it was just GNP, bang, bang, bang. That's kind of how I see it for Mousasi. How about you?
Both these guys, to mention, have a win over Dan Henderson. Vitor Belfort ranked 5th in that division. He's hot and cold this year. This year, it's hard to pick him because he's in a tough position. He's, like you said, post-TRT Vitor. And you just don't know what to expect with him. Like you said, he comes out with that blitz. Gegard Mousasi, though, who's ranked 9th right now, who's also a veteran fighter, has almost 50 fights under his belt. This is just a great matchup for Mousasi if he can get this win. This is going to be huge for him to catapult up to those rankings and get Vitor, who's still ranked 5th somehow.
Oh, okay. Because somebody asked Mousasi, like, hey, where does this put you if you beat Vitor? And he goes, doesn't put me anywhere. Like he doesn't think that it's really going to do a whole heck of a lot for him, even though Vitor's ranked above him. I mean, because when you look at the title picture, you got Bisping versus Henderson, you got Yoel Romero versus Weidman, you got Jacare versus Rockhold.
Those are some sharks.
He's got to wait for all that to clear out first, even if he gets the win over Belfort.
Yeah, it's a shark pool, man. It really is.
Yep. Oh, hey, by the way, over in the chat room, I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
You know Pat a lot better than I do. Does he always pick round 1 knockout?
Yes.
That's his thing.
Thank you for pointing that out, Ted. We see Pat pick out round 1 knockout, and sometimes he gets lucky and gets it. But, Pat, you need to put more thought into it, bro.
If that's all you pick, yeah, sooner or later, it's like a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yep, and he picks up the wins.
So he's got OSP win KO round 1. Mousasi wins KO round 1.
Of course.
Hendo wins H-bomb round 1.
I don't see any of those fights ending in round 1.
Maybe OSP.
Ted, can we ask Pat, why do you always pick round 1, bro? Why are you always picking round 1?
That's his thing, I guess. I don't know.
You know what? My girlfriend likes picking decision a lot, and you know what? It works sometimes.
Yeah, I'm usually wrong. I don't know. Even if
I,
I'm right and wrong, like I picked that Lineker and Dodson to go to decision, but I had Dodson and it was Lineker. Like nobody should ever bet on anything I ever say because I'm almost always wrong.
so Ted, I put a lot, and I know that you do too. You put thought behind a lot of your picks. I enjoy that. I enjoy, doing my research on fighters that I don't know, looking at the cards ahead of time. I know there's people out there that enjoy looking at my picks, so I really try to give my best educated answer. And sometimes you're hot and you get a couple good cards, but sometimes there's cards out there like the free cards people have a lot of trouble on because there's a lot of up and coming fighters. But and I
Right.
have fun picking rounds and picking how I think it's going to happen. Pat, I think you'd have fun too if you put a little more analyzing in it. But you know
That-
what? Honestly, everyone's free to their opinions. But it's just funny that you pick round one all the time, Pat.
It is. It is. I mean, this is like his thing, and sometimes he's right. But you were talking about doing a little research. I know we want to get to the main event, but real quick, if I could go to, it's the first card on the main card, the first fight on the main card, Mirsad Bektic versus Russell Doan. I really had to do my homework on these guys because I'm not too familiar with them. It's a bantamweight fight. Bektic is 10-0. He's he's a Bosnian. I was gonna say Croatian. You can't call him Croatian. It's two different countries. He's a Bosnian. 10-0, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, 3 decisions. He looks really good. Russell Doan is 14-6. He has lost. We talked earlier about going on losing streaks. This is the guy I was talking about. He's lost his last 3. I found out.
Okay, all right.
Decision to Iori Alcantara, decision to Jared Sanders, and a submission to Pedro Munoz. So this is do or die for Russell Doan. If he doesn't win this one, I feel pretty certain he's going to be out with 4 wins in a row.
Four losses. Yeah, 4 losses.
4 losses in a row. They're going to send him back to Hawaii. Bektic, I think, is going to win this. I mean, I think he's going to continue. Very athletic, very fast. Great takedown defense. Great takedowns. I like it. I like his striking a lot. I like it a lot. Doan is susceptible to the takedown, so I see Doan. Unfortunately, I see Doan losing.
Who are you saying is going to win this fight?
Bektic, Mirsad Bektic. I think he's going to win it. I'm going to go with. Decision, unanimous decision.
All right.
Never
I'm
been
gonna
knocked
do a
out.
little research on that because I'm not too familiar with that fight, so I want to make sure I'm caught up on that.
I looked up the records, looked up some clips on YouTube. And just you kind of like you say, you make your best educated guess.
Yeah, as a professional, it's almost like it's expected of us to know who's on the card in a way. So I always try to make sure that for everybody out there, that at least as a professional, that we do put our research and time into our picks, even if we're not familiar with them. This is something we take very seriously.
I mean, with like 500 plus fighters on the roster, it's tough to have every fighter right in the top of mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But anyway.
All right, so that gets us into our main event, Ted.
Yes,
Michael Bisping coming for revenge here to send Dan Henderson packing, saying, you know what, you knocked me out at UFC 100. I've come a long way since then. Have a great night. You're not getting the confetti falling from the ceiling. This is no fairy tale ending. Hendo saying, I don't know why Michael would want to rematch with me. This is bad. What do you think?
Wow. Yeah, I thought they were going to make this fight a while ago. You remember when Bisping won the title from Luke Rockhold, and Hendo fought on that card too.
Yeah.
And he was on the stage when there was that shouting match between Bisping and Rockhold, and Hendo cut his eye at Bisping like, just shut the F up, man. Just shut up, you fool. And I'm not saying that that's the way I feel about Bisping because, he's a character and and I like the way he promotes fights. But Hendo was just like, this idiot. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, there we go. They're setting it up. I mean, not that that was planned. I don't think it was. I think it was very spontaneous, but that's all the UFC needed. They're like, oh, there we go. And then of course, then Bisping is like, this is who I want. I want this guy. I want revenge. And once I knock him down, I'm going to give him one more, just like he gave me. To shut him up.
This is absolutely amazing. And for any of our listeners out there that don't know who Michael Bisping is, he came up on The Ultimate Fighter. They had beef. I forgot what season exactly it was. Season 8?
They were coaches.
Yeah, they were coaches on the season of Ultimate Fighter. Bisping was running his mouth the entire season. The end of the season, UFC 100, they finally meet again. It wasn't that bad of a fight, Ted. It was back and forth, and you can clearly see how far Bisping's come since then. And even that last fight, Henderson was supposed to retire very soon after then. He's still in the game now. So I think that Hendo is running on fumes at this point. Bisping is trying to capitalize on that to make him 2016 Fighter of the Year.
Yeah, I think if he does this, I like your idea there. I would have to go with. I would have to go with that. Yeah, I mean, I remember that fight so distinctly. Hendo stepped forward. I think it was with like a low left kick that was more like kind of like a distraction. Okay, and then over the top with the right, and then one more, boom. Forearm basically.
Everyone out there, this video is up on YouTube for free. I definitely recommend you watching it if you haven't. One of the best highlight knockouts in UFC history.
And Hendo since has capitalized on that. He's got T-shirts with him coming down like this, with the hammer. The H-bomb. This is the H-bomb, and then the hammer. So he's really He's really made it known, like, hey, this is what I did to the guy, and that that kind of has rubbed Bisping the wrong way. So we got Bisping, who is he's primarily a striker. I mean, he's got some ground game too, but he really likes the stand-up game. I saw a picture of him today. He was kickboxing when he was a teenager. So, and he's brought his striking up a lot in the sense. Oh, sorry about that. I used to criticize him along with a lot of other people that he was a pitter-patter kind of, pillow-fisted kind of fighter. Well, he's shown he's got some knockout power as well.
Yeah, man.
We saw the way he put out Rockhold. So
he even knocked down Silva in their fight a couple of times.
Right, he knocked Anderson Silva down. The great Anderson Silva
at the end of the first 2 rounds too.
Yes. So this. Yeah, I hate to pick against Hendo, but I just don't. I mean, Dan Henderson, a wrestler by trade, but developed his striking, and of course he's got the devastating right hand. But and we saw him in his win against Hector Lombard. I mean, that was pretty cool the way he did that back elbow. I just think Bisping is too skilled, too smart. Too much of a role. He's got that whole feeling of this is my destiny. So his first part of the destiny, fulfilling was to win the title. Now he's on his revenge tour. So Henderson, he's got to get Henderson back. I got to go with Bisping.
How does this fight not pump you up, Ted? I'm sure you're gonna get a lot of people calling you Un-American. Because this fight at the O2 Arena, Michael Bisping has never lost at the O2 Arena. Let me say that.
Good point. So I love Hendo. We're the same age. We're both 46. It's amazing what he's done. And he's had a tremendous career. And this would certainly cap it off. And he's gone back and forth on whether he's going to retire after this fight or not. The latest is he will. He said he was going to retire. Then he said, no, I'll probably do another fight. Now he's back to retiring.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what he's going to do. But his legacy's already set. This would just kind of be another, it's just a cherry on the top.
It would be amazing if Dan Henderson does win. Here's the thing with Dan Henderson. There could be 6 seconds left in the fight. Bisping could be up on top the entire time. And the fight could end in a split second from anything that Dan Henderson throws out there. Anything. So you got to watch out for him. There's do never at any point in the fight count him out. We saw that last fight you were just talking about with Hector Lombard. Right? That was his last fight, Hector Lombard.
Yeah.
And Hector Lombard in that first round was throwing Henderson around the ring, busting him up. I was like, oh, it's all over. Second round, he lands that back elbow.
Yep.
Drops him. H-bombs him again. Imagine if that was his last fight. Nope. The fans wanted this fight. What does Michael Bisping have to do? So here's what Michael Bisping has to do. He's came leaps and boundaries. He's just come so far since the last time they fought. His striking is on a new level with who's he training with?
Jason Perillo.
Jason Perillo, who trains with Cyborg as well. This is a new year, a new Michael Bisping, so to say. If he could seal this deal with Dan Henderson, and I think it's going to happen, Michael Bisping will be getting Fighter of the Year.
So yeah, he's got to stay away from the
grittiness.
H-bomb.
Yeah.
You think he's going to be able to stay away from the H-bomb?
I think that he's this is a great fight, and I can't wait because it could go either way. There's no real argument on either behalf as spectators here. We just really got to wait and see to see what happens because I don't know what to expect here. You don't know because Dan Henderson, it's his last fight. You don't know what's going through his head, how he's feeling about it. He could be on a whole new level, bring everything that throughout the years to the table come this Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pumped, dude.
Imagine if Hendo wins, though.
Oh my God. I will go nuts because I'm just, I'm looking at it objectively. I mean, I'm a fan of both of these guys, but I'm leaning towards Bisping. Sometimes I don't want to sound like a kook here, but sometimes you get like a vision, and what I see is I picture Bisping just getting him down and then against the cage, like Hendo's against the cage, is ground and pound, and the ref's got to pull him off of him. That's just the way I see it. I don't know. I could be totally wrong.
If he does this at the O2 Arena especially, I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to hear the podcast or hear this episode of Evil Intoxicated and be like, Ed and Ted not repping the American fighter going over the lake. But here, guys, I got to be brutally honest. I don't base my decisions off of where we're from. This has nothing to do with it. It has to do with what Michael Bisping has been showing us lately. And he's been showing us that he's made a lot of improvements to his game.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait because, it's just either way, it'll be, well, I mean, if it's the end for Henderson, it's just the end of a great career, At
the same time, if Henderson wins, I would be so happy for him.
And I tend to think, as I said before, I think he's got one more in him. I think he's going to want to defend the belt. I don't know. It's just what I think. He's going to get that. If he gets the belt, he's going to be like, you know what? I know I said I was going to retire, but I want to defend it.
How do you not? You know what I mean? How do you not defend it?
Unless your name's Conor McGregor and you never plan on defending any belt.
Well, he's making his own story, so he has a pre-written storyline out. But anyways, Dan Henderson, I wish him the best of luck. They should be over there now, I'm pretty sure, right? It's fight week. So
yeah, they're all over there. Oh yeah.
They had the open workouts today, so the weigh-ins are going to be Friday. I don't know exactly what time.
Oh yeah, and what's the deal with the time change? How are they going to do this? Is this going to be on delay or?
I think it's going to be on earlier in the day, like we saw with the Silva versus Bisping fight, which I know a lot of people over there across the lake do enjoy this, but it is a little difficult for us here on the East Coast. But then again, I don't want to play crybaby because they have to wait up till 5 a.m. to see the main event sometimes. So
yeah, we get the lion's share of the fights over here. So yeah. I'll have to check on that. Yeah, because
it's like a weird.
What's that?
It's like a weird feeling to watch fights like in the middle of your day or in the morning. I can't get into it. You know what I mean? I wait all day for the fight. When it's in the afternoon, it's right. Like it's weird to me. It's like almost like watching a baseball game because you're like your mind's not fully on the fights at that early stage. You know what I mean? I'm just not used to that. So
I'll have to check that out. I have to check to see what they're gonna do with that.
When you say delay, do you mean it's gonna go live and they're gonna air it hours later? Because it can't even work that way with the way social media is. We saw that mistake with Bellator.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They would. Yeah, there'd be spoilers and everything. Yeah. No, they're gonna have to go live.
So
you're right.
Before we end the show, Ted, is there anything else going on in the chat room? Anything anyone wants to discuss or anything? Now's your time, guys.
Wonder Boy, aka Brooklyn, was reminding us that Hendo trained with the great Captain America for years. And I think we might have talked about that the last episode. That they started Team Quest together. Randy Couture.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. I'm pretty sure.
Randy Couture, Dan Henderson, and Matt Lindland started Team Quest.
And they're still really good friends to this day. They go all the time, and
Yeah, I think it was Lindland. There was some legal thing over who could use Team Quest. I think it was between Lindland and Hendo. They had the problem, but I don't know what happened there. Pat says he's gonna watch it right now. The Bisping versus Hendo 1.
Dude, you gotta watch it, and everyone out there, it's free. It's on YouTube. Definitely go check it out. Let me know what you guys think, because you're gonna see a lot of differences at Bisping. Bisping even says when he rewatches that fight, he cringes at some of the mistakes that he makes. It's just a young fighter. You know what I mean?
Oh, and Minion's saying no change for the United States, but UK fans get fucked.
How? Minion, guys. Minion is one of the most knowledgeable people in MMA right now on Twitter with his videos. Very informative. Definitely check him out. We gave you guys the tag before. He did a segment on my podcast. He does it every week. Definitely check that out. It's up on Apple iTunes. Just search Pure Evil MMA. Podbean.com as well.
So, yeah, I don't know how. Because we're like 5 hours apart.
6. Yeah, 5 or 6 hours.
Between 5 and 6 hours difference between the East Coast and England. The main event starts Sunday the 9th in the UK. At 12:30 a.m. Sunday the 9th. So the times stay the same in the United States, he's saying. Okay. All right. Wow. That really does suck for the...
Dude, they get screwed a lot, man. They really do.
Wow.
It's a worldwide sport, man. It's not like here in the States where there's baseball and, only a couple hours difference. 6 hours is, the other side of the day. You know what I mean? It's just, it's hard for MMA fans over there. So I understand their frustration.
But, hey, it's their guy, Bisping, so I think they'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're without a doubt. All right. So is there anything else going on in the chat room or anything that you want to discuss before we depart, Ted?
Eddie, I think that's it, man. I think it's a wrap. This was another 2-hour show. It's getting to be a regular thing for us. It's just the way things work out organically, but we try to give people their money's worth, I guess.
Ted, I want to give you props.
I don't know there's any money involved, but
On last week's show, man, your story about the rat, that was a big hit. I got a lot of messages of people that really enjoyed us talking about our lives and those kind of stories.
Oh, the mama rat. Oh, the mama rat. Yeah. Or the mouse. Yeah, it was a mouse. Yeah. I still haven't found her, so I think she escaped.
Oh. Yeah.
She's out of my garage, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. There you go. So, guys, if you missed it and you tuned in late, this podcast is going to be up directly after this here on my page. Ted usually uploads it on his page as well. I'll be editing this down into segments for everybody. So tonight we talked about UFC 204. We talked about UFC Portland breakdown. The weekly news, which pretty much was UFC 205. Conor McGregor smoking pot. Jose Aldo. What else did we talk about, Ted?
Jules the Jackal. The whole UFC 205 business. We didn't even get to Verdum versus Velasquez 2 at UFC 207.
Very quickly, there were some news announcements that you wanted to talk about before we went live. You just want to announce those really quick?
Yeah, Fabricio, the rematch, Fabricio Verdum versus Cain Velasquez 2, makes sense because Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight champion, said he wanted some time off. So I would guess that this would be for the battle for the number one contender between Verdum and Velasquez at UFC 207. So we're going to see sea level Kane. It's not going to be above sea level, in Mexico City. It's going to be sea level Kane December 30th. And then we have Daniel Cormier defending against Anthony Rumble Johnson, the fight that I think most people wanted to see. They were like, John Jones can wait. He hasn't even sorted his crap out yet with the Athletic Commission. So Cormier versus Rumble 2, that's a rematch as well. UFC 206 in Toronto.
Okay, UFC 206 is in Toronto. Now, GSP versus Nick Diaz. That's what's allegedly going around right now. And GSP...
What are you talking about?
GSP is saying that...
No, yeah, that rumor's been around for a while, yeah.
I mean, Nick is saying that the only fight that he wants is the GSP fight. Do you think that's going to happen or what?
It could. It could very well happen. I mean, that would be a huge card because, I mean, Cormier versus Rumble, that's your main event right there because it's for a title. GSP against Diaz could be the co-main.
There you go. I think that's a great idea. GSP was just put back onto the UFC Pick'em site, so I'm really wondering if this is really going to happen. So,
and he's been tested. He's or I don't know if he's been tested or he's on the USADA list.
Yeah, what do they call it? The pool, right? It is in the USADA pool.
Ooh. Yeah.
So if you guys are just tuning in, it's too late. It's the end of the show. It will be up on YouTube right here. So subscribe down below. We do this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. You do not want to miss it out. That guy above me is Ted Czech from YouTube, the infamous YouTube guy, with the best MMA videos out there that are short, fast, and to a point. Interacts with all of his listeners. Ted, you just want to give out your tags before we take off?
My name's Ted. TEDCZECH, like the Czech Republic. That's probably what I should call my group. You've got the Evil Army. I should have the Czech Republic. But anyway, yeah, I'm on YouTube. Check me out. I'm on Facebook. I'm back in the saddle again on Twitter. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make a point to get on Twitter pretty much every day. I want to have a presence on Twitter every day. And, see what I can do with that. So, back in the saddle again.
Huge props to you, Ted, for, introducing me to Reddit, dude. I'm loving it.
That's a great one. It's the best. The Reddit MMA forum it's like a message board or whatever you want to call it. It's awesome. And Ann thinks that Bisping's going to win.
Thank you, Ann. Congratulations to this week's winner for the UFC Pick'em, Dandy Dave. And also Randy. So thank you guys so much for listening to episode number 16?
16.
Episode number 16 of Evil and Intoxicated. I'm Evil Eddie. You guys can find me on Twitter at evil_echo, or to make things a lot more simple, at Pure Evil MMA. You can find the podcast up on Apple iTunes and podbean.com. It was released this morning. We discussed UFC 205, Conor, the new owners, all the latest news in MMA. We have fun segments set up. It was a great episode tonight and also on the podcast. It will be up on SoundCloud, Evil Intoxicated episode 16. If you want to listen to this tomorrow morning on your way to work or at your gym time, it's always fun to listen to some of your MMA shows. And in my opinion, there's a lot of good ones out there, but none better than this. All right, Ted, I had a great night with you, man. Thanks, and shout out to everybody in the chat room. I had a great night. I hope you guys all had a great night. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. That's Ted Czech, and we're out.